Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome everybody to my independence report. I'm afraid that today I have some really sad news. Eric Hall, who normally does this time slot with me, he went and he had a vaccine on Monday. And of course, that was he. Wait, no, there he is.
Oh, yeah.
Got everybody, didn't I? There for a moment.
You caught me.
No, just telling everybody that you had passed away on Monday because you had the vaccine.
It felt like it for a moment, man.
So he needed to get some cannabis out, and here he is. And by the way, the Department of Transportation is about ready to knock on your door.
They are?
Everybody knows, everybody listens to this, and so they said, "Oh, that guy's a bus driver, and he's smoking something."
It's tobacco. In fact, it's. I do not get paid by these people, but this is called potlatch.
Oh, very nice.
It's a product from England, and it's a very nice. It's a very nice pipe tobacco. And I saw my doctor last week, and she suggested that I start staying away from smoking, so I got a larger pipe, and I'm a little farther away from smoking than I was a week ago. We all make progress in our own way.
So I'm glad you're working at that and you're making progress. See, and I when I was young, I smoked, and then I quit for 15 years, and then I started again when I started driving a bus. Oddly enough. And had to get rid of the stress somehow.
Yeah.
And but when I was a kid, I tried to smoke a pipe. Now, smoking a pipe is completely different than smoking cigarettes.
It is. Yeah.
Because if you inhale a pipe tobacco, like I did the first time I did that, I threw up instantly. It was
I would do that to you.
Yeah. So I don't see any redeeming value in smoking a pipe. Now, there's some people there's a friend of mine, his name is Rick Burns. He I don't know if he still does, but he did for a long time.
Yeah. He taught me how to smoke a pipe.
He tried to teach me, and I almost threw up right in his lap. And so that was, I have never been able to figure that out.
Oh.
So, but I'm glad that you're doing it and it's working well. And by the way, I was right. And I was correct that you did have a vaccine shot this week. How did that go?
Went very, very well. I was really surprised because Tuesdays and Wednesdays are my days off. And I became available to get the vaccine on a Monday. So I woke up Tuesday morning, determined that I'd at least set up the appointment, assuming that it would take me at least a week, maybe 2 weeks to get an appointment. So I went online to search how to go about and do this. And lo and behold, the Fred Meyer, not far from my house, 1.63 miles away, had an opening at 11 o'clock. Now, I started searching at 9 o'clock. So it was 2 hours later. I was home by 11:30 with my first Pfizer shot in my arm.
Oh, very
I was
nice.
absolutely amazed. Yeah, and it didn't cost, there was no cost involved. It was very well run. Had a interesting conversation with the gentleman that was giving the shots, the pharmacist, who I guess was passing out 30 vaccines a day, which doesn't sound like much, because I asked him, how many are you doing a day of these? And he said, well, I'm doing 30. I said, that surprises me. I figured you'd be doing a lot more. And he says, well, keep in mind, I'm also trying to run a pharmacy as well. And I said, oh, yeah, I get that.
So they only then book, because you have to make a reservation to go there and or an appointment.
A reservation would be a restaurant. This would be an appointment for a doctor, and
but these are drugs. These are drugs. So it's
yeah.
however you want to word it.
You're the wordsmith. You're supposed to know this stuff, not me. And so apparently they only plan on having 30 appointments a day.
That sounds about right. And it was interesting as I was making the appointment, because I was actually signing up for the 10:45 appointment, but I wasn't moving along fast enough. And by the time I clicked the button, somebody had already grabbed the 10:45.
Don't
and I had to submit for the 11 o'clock appointment. So it was in live action appointment booking. Very competitive. Very competitive.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. That had to be fun. Be fun. So now, of course, Eric is an active bus driver. I'm well, I'm not active at all. I'm on disability leave, but so you started your new routes, and your new routes are going fine.
Yes, new routes are terrific. My main routes I do 3 days a week during the week are West Seattle, and I pick up some commuters in the morning and bring them in. Very few commuters, on this route, and then break during midday. And then I start my route out in Northgate and bring in, I don't know. They're not commuters. They're people coming into town. I guess I haven't been able to play. I don't know what they're doing. They're, people, they're not homeless. They're not all homeless people. Various people with various interests in coming to Seattle. I guess that's how you would say that. And Route 40, I'll just say it on the air. Route 40 is a beautiful route because you start in Northgate, you go up through Ballard and by Lake Union, which is gorgeous, on beautiful days, cross the Fremont Bridge and by Lake Union. Then you go downtown, down through the what I call the Amazon jungle. Because if the people that have been down to the Amazon area, it truly is an amazing area, in my opinion. Before COVID hit, now things could change again, but before COVID hit, in my opinion, it was like stepping into 20 years into the future and how business would be done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because dogs, of course, are part of the equation in the workforce in that part of the world. The younger computerized work folk, they get to have their companion animals with them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it is. So they get on their bus, with their dogs in various states. They've got the backpacks, or they carry the little pooches, or they've got the big dogs that, that lead them onto the bus. And there's dog cafes that are set up exclusively to feed dogs. They've got indoor dog parks. And for those that have seen these Amazon spheres, these gorgeous geodesic domes that made of glass, and they've got this beautiful large plants growing. And the work concept is fascinating. I haven't been able to get in there yet for a tour, but I've been able to use the rest of it there. But the concept is very few people have an actual assigned space. Nobody really has an office, but people have desks that they meet at, and then they go meet somebody else, and they wander around with their little critters, and the bathrooms, they have like a door where you go use the toilet. That's I can go in there, and then Mrs. Jones might come in next, and then Mr. Lee, and then whoever. So they're co-op toilets, and then there's a large set of sinks set up, and then a mirror where people can fix themselves up, so it's a very relaxed sort of style of, personal care.
I assume that there's a door or a lock on the door.
Yes, there is. There's a lock on the toilet door, and it's full size. It's not one of those,
Not the toilet door, the door to the bathroom, so that you can't be standing there and no. So you could be standing there, and a girl could walk in next.
Well, on the toilet door, there's a lock, but on the mirror door, on the sink doors, it's just an open space.
Oh well, I get that. So you get privacy in your little cubicle, but for to do your business. But normally there if it's a if everybody gets to go there, there's a lock on the door to the bathroom so that you can lock the door so you can be by yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just for the toilet. Yeah, but the sink and all that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Is that to get into the toilet area, there's a lock on that door.
Yeah, just the toilet area. The sink and the sinks and all that are shared, but just the individual toilets. So, like you and I, if we were at the stadium, there'd be a long trough, and we'd set up our positions and do our business. There's none of that there. There's individual toilets.
Yeah, and of course there's
their own doors.
There's protocol and etiquette to using a trough like toilet, like at the Kingdom or something. Or it's Kingdom, like it's a sports stadium or something. Is that you don't look left and you don't look right. You can look
and you
down.
Don't back up. And you don't back up.
And you don't back up. You can look up and stuff, but you sure as hell don't want to look left or you don't want to look right.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No sudden movements. Nope.
Yeah, there's a whole protocol on how that works.
That's right. So people bring their dogs, and the restaurants are fascinating because most of the restaurants around there are healthy, and they're quickly served. Yeah, they have health food. That a lot of vegetarian food to choose from. Is very well prepared. I've eaten there, a number of times, and it doesn't take any longer than it does to get a burger, a burrito, or any of that stuff. And it's very well priced, the same thing. And Amazon sets up these booths where they just pass out fruit. Anybody walking by. I've walked by there and, hey, you want a banana? And what? You want a banana? Yeah, I'll take a banana. One other day they're passing out oranges, and there's plenty of, homeless people walking through getting fruit and, stuffing in their pockets, and they hand them another one. It's, it's wonderful. It's kind of idyllic, and it's kind of the way we hope things should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, what goes along with that is those people are working very hard, and they're probably putting in 50, 60 hours a week, maybe more. But boy, all in all, they're not, our generation was a 3 martini lunch.
Yeah.
So you make the comparison yourself,
Well, and what they've done, see, there's a method to their madness. And the method is that they demand, and Amazon does demand a high output, a lot of work, a lot of hours, but in exchange for that, to keep their workforce healthy and motivated, they give them perks. And which is better than most places, which the only perk that you get for working 60, I worked in restaurants for a long time, and the only perk I ever got was I got to go to work the next day.
Right. Well, you got some free food too. You might have to scrape off some dishes in the back when nobody's looking.
Yeah. Yes, we didn't do that much, but
yeah, you did.
No. Honestly, the first time I wanted to work in restaurants for a long time, and so I went and applied at a Denny's in Bellevue. They said we don't have any openings, but there is one in downtown Seattle, which is
really.
They used to call it Denny's Unit Number 95. Unit Number 95 was famous. It was right there next to the Aurora, where the Aurora is, and in the shadow of the Space Needle, and
you might know another friend of mine.
I might. Who might that be?
Onishi.
Who?
Onishi.
Nope, didn't know that. Well, I might. I don't know. I don't know. Was he a cook?
We'll talk later. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk later. But the first time I go to work there, and I'm going to be a busboy, and they say, all right, you clean, you take the bus tub over and you put it here, and then you clean all the table and you put it all there, and then you take the bus tub back, and then you give it to the dishwasher, and you get a fresh bus tub, and you go back out and you clear more tables and you wipe them and all that. So I was the first table that I went to was a family of 4, and so it was messy and stuff. And so the first thing that I did is I stuck my finger in the butter dish and almost threw up.
Oh no!
Because you're not used to dealing with other people's stuff. And so it was food, and it was messy, and it was but after a little while, you get used to dealing with other people's mess, and then you're fine.
Yeah, it's kind of like cleaning hair out of the shower.
Yeah, especially when you're in a hotel, and it's somebody, and it's somebody else's hair. You just got there, and it's
yeah.
Well,
and you gotta love restaurant work. If this was another world, I could do restaurant work. There's something about it, that's energetic and fun and interactive. It's all that great stuff.
It's a young person's game. You can't physically. After about 40, I couldn't do it anymore because it's long hours on your feet and all that, and it can be tough. But it's also, you get wonderful stories out of it, some great friendships and stuff. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. I enjoyed it thoroughly. So, but there came a time when it wasn't going to work for me anymore.
Yeah, I can see you doing that. And Amazon, speaking of Amazon, they've got a lot on the line there coming up. And what is that, Alabama? Alabama with the oh, what does that mean?
that means we're going to make her throw up here pretty quick if we're not careful.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Alabama with the union or not? Do they go with the union or do they not? And it was interesting. They were talking, I think it was Bezos was talking. They consider themselves the Bernie Sanders of corporations.
Yeah.
But a Bernie Sanders that's actually effective and gets things done. That was a heavy cut on
shot
Bernie,
to the midsection and a left to the head.
Left to the head. Because if they get a union in Alabama, there's going to be a lot of unionization across the country.
Getting a union in Alabama, I would like you to think about what you just said.
It's almost like getting a black female senator in Alabama.
I know somebody is rolling around in their grave. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, man.
But you had mentioned we were just getting started, and you mentioned that you decided you were going to go have dinner in a cafe, and of course, you were dining alone, I assume.
Yeah, as most times I do.
And when you're dining alone, see, that's one of the reasons, because I used to work in a restaurant.
Yes.
I tend not to go. Now, when I was traveling, you have to go because you got to eat. But sure. I'll never forget this guy comes into the Denny's one time, and he's by himself, and one of the waitresses goes, "Oh, poor man, he doesn't have any friends."
That's pretty much it.
And so I was like, "Why? We don't know." And he said, "No, he comes in, he's always by himself. He never has anybody come with him, and it really is a sad thing." So, but what it does do when you're there by yourself and not occupied in conversation, you get to listen to others.
Yes.
Tell us about that conversation.
Well, we have the ability not to listen to others, but we know we shouldn't listen to others, but we don't have the ability to not listen to others, especially when the conversation gets absolutely fascinating. Now, there was a divider between myself, kind of a half wall between myself and the two gentlemen that were on the other side of these half booths, the single seat booths. And they were talking, and sooner rather than later, the conversation came around to politics, and the part of the world I live in, the neighborhood has pockets of, oh, well, it's a mixed neighborhood with people from both sides of the political views. And they started talking about the current state of the virus and what a disaster it's been for the country, which I thought was interesting because, in my opinion, it certainly has. And yeah, it turns out that these gentlemen's view of the virus, the masks has been an extreme violation of personal rights. And all of this is a plot, to open the door to, communism, just warming us up as a communism takeover. And Democrats are seizing on this virus to push a communist plot onto the American people, as we have, so many times in the past supported communism. And the virus is a mechanism. When a person is given the vaccination, their mind opens up and we start to accept communism as a normal way of life. We're altered. Our mind becomes altered into communism. Now, it was about this time that I was pretty much finished with my meal, and after that sentence, I was pretty much finished with my meal. So I asked for a to-go box as these gentlemen were finishing, the conversation that would end all the problems with the world. And I paid I gave my credit card to the waiter, and he charged it up for me. I signed it. I stood up so I get a good look at these guys, because I was so curious, and I was really trying not to be rude. Really, I really was, but I had to get a look, and I had to really take in what I had to see. And forgive me for having prior judgments, but good Lord, God help us. But these guys, they had a lot in common. They were both, fully bearded with the white beard, 60, 70 years old. And they had the trucker caps on. And they both had a fisherman's vest on with the plaid shirts with a T-shirt underneath that I don't know what that said. And there's probably 7 nicotine stained teeth between them. And that was all I took in, and I thought about paying their bill just for the heck of it, just because the way it shook my bones. How else would I get my bones shaken from that? Because those guys vote. And where on earth, because these guys didn't come up with that idea.
Nope, they did not
come up with that idea. This is something that they came across. This is something that was fed to them.
Well, you know what in my world is scary?
What's that?
Had a conversation with my 90-year-old mother. That's 90, born in 1930. She'll be 91 in November. She's 90. Did I say she was 90? And we were having this conversation, and I said, well, gosh, Mom, even on Woodby Island, which is where she lives, I said, I'm sure that you can get, you of anybody being 90, you're in a high risk group, you can get the vaccine. I'm sure of that. Have you checked into that yet?
I think they'll come out and do a tour.
They probably would. Yeah. They probably would. And she said no. And I said, why not? She said, I'm not going to get it. I said, Mom, do I have to remind you that you're 90 years old and that if you get it, it will kill you? That she's got throat issues. She's got some lung issues. If she were to get it, it will kill her. There is no question about it. And she said, nope, she's not going to do it. She is now watching a program called Newsmax. Are you familiar with Newsmax?
I am familiar with that because I've had a conversation with a gentleman. That is his only news source.
and it is, and that's where these two guys, I'm sure, heard either that one or the alternative one, which is they give you the shot and there are microbes in the shot that are going to turn you into a card carrying communist or something like that. And so I don't know who I'm going to sue, but I feel like I'm going to sue somebody if she catches it and dies. Because it also means, because I said to her, I said, well, Mom, I want you to think about this for a moment. You have grandkids. You have great grandkids. You've got a daughter who's about to be 70. Her husband is going to be 73 or something like that. I'm 63. None of us are in the prime of health, and we're all old folks. We can't see you if you don't get the vaccine, because we're not going to take a risk that you are carrying the vaccine and you're going to hurt the children or hurt us, and so you're going to isolate yourself. She said, no, I'm not. That's all going to go away. This is all just a big hoax.
That
and
is
it's
heartbreaking, man.
It is that I was brought up by somebody as stupid as that. I'm sorry to say. Because that doesn't make any sense at all to me at all. And so I was talking with my sister about it, and she was like, well, we talked about it too, and I can't get her to budge an inch. She is convinced, because of the news outlets that she listens to and will not listen to anybody else, that that this is all true. And that bad things are going to happen, and that they're going to come. The socialists are going to come and take everything. And I said, okay, Mom, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you do this? Maybe this is why she's mad at me. Why don't you do this? When are you going to deny your Social Security? Huh? When are you going to stop taking Social Security? Well, why would I do that? Because that's a socialist program. When are you going to stop taking Medicare? Well, why would I do that? I need the medical insurance. That's a socialist program. We have made the decision that we are going to take care of you old farts in your old age. I'm about to be there, so I can call myself an old fart. And we can say that we're taking advantage of the government, and because those are socialist programs that we all as a society have decided that socially we are going to take care of our disadvantage. Food stamps is another one. There's no, if you need food stamps, if you need to eat something, then we have decided as a society that we're going to take care of people that need to be fed. Those are all socialist programs. At least, unless being the wordsmith that you are, you can come up with a better word.
Oh, see, that's the thing. Republicans have been ahead of the curve about demonizing Democrats for decades, and I think we can firstly thank Newt Gingrich for making it grandiose in demonizing people.
Contract with America.
Yep. And until on the horizon, in my opinion, this is all in the horizon about freedom of speech. They're painting it as freedom of speech. Thus the rise of Newsmax and QAnon and, stuff like that, because they're hiding behind the guise of freedom of speech. They can say what they want. Now, we have always had freedom of speech. We can always say what we want, but we've always had to be responsible in it. We can say the cliche, you can't yell fire in a theater. That's criminal. And we accept that as common sense because nobody really wants to hurt anybody. Nobody with common sense, nobody with a sense of civility to them anyway. But these people, with their generations, with their decades of learned hate, thanks to the beginnings of Newt Gingrich and his ilk and the rise of Fox News and Rush Limbaugh, may he rest ever, not so much in peace, but in a sense of learning of his ways for the rest of eternity. Because that mindset exists is why we have people like Newsmax and Fox and your dear mother, who is probably with your existence obviously is capable of good common sense and raising good people and knows what is right and wrong. And something in her life, she got brainwashed. There's cases out there where people have gone and said, they brainwashed my dad. Fox News brainwashed my dad. And they're talking about Tucker Carlson, and they're talking about Sean Hannity. And what was that? What was that other guy that
Bill O'Reilly?
Bill O'Reilly. Good Lord. These people are just toxic. They're just toxic. And for the most part, I think they know it. Rush Limbaugh knows it, that he was toxic. And for God's sake, so does Hannity and Tucker Carlson. They know they're spewing garbage. Tucker Carlson has been in court, and their defense was, well, people of common sense know that what we say doesn't have anything to do with reality, and if they really believe us, then they're crazy.
Right.
That was basically their defense. Now, why don't they run that at the beginning and end of their show? That alone would make them good faith actors if they did that. Not doing that makes them bad faith actors. If they truly believe in freedom of speech, run that. Have all the fun you want and say anything you want. The sky is green right now. That sky behind you on that in that screen, that's green sky. Sue me.
Yep, it's pea soup. That's what's
Pea
back
soup.
there. Pea soup.
That's right.
And I'll give you. This is how, in my opinion, how sick it is. Now, as you know, because you're on it right now, I have a podcast that I do, which is my Independence Report, and the whole idea is to make it positive and uplifting and fun for people to listen to, and we tell the truth. And we work to eliminate hate, division, and fear. And we did all that. And if somebody came to me with $1 million and said, I'll tell you what, you have a platform, and what I want you to do is I'm going to give you this $1 million, and then I want you to take the platform, trash it, and then become a right-wing zealot. That's what these folks, that's the money that these folks generate. That's why Fox News does what they do, is they position themselves in a conservative position because that's where they can generate money. They can get advertising.
Koch brothers.
Yes. And other groups and other people and that are of a conservative. Although I got to tell you, you're the word guy. What does conservative mean anymore? I don't know.
Oh, it's totally abstract now. You and I are probably more conservative than Fox News people.
Probably.
We're probably more fiscally. I used to consider myself a conservative. I used to, forgive me, and I've changed. When I was 21, I was a Republican, and I voted for Reagan.
I did twice.
Did you? Yeah, I did too. And I thought it was the right thing to do, and as I grew up and learned more about the world, I saw the error of my ways.
Well,
but
Nancy, I can't remember what I think.
That's it. that was it. But I thought the guy was such a good image for America.
I thought so too. He was sharp. He dressed nice. If you gave him the right lines in the right order, he could say them nice.
That was so important.
It really was.
And he drove a nice car. Man, those cars were beautiful.
Yeah, he had a nice horse when he went out west.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
But then,
that's why we're 20. That's why we grow up. But so what was my point? Oh yeah. So then we learned about him passing the trickle down economics and how we lost our sense of smaller economies and cultures. Like back in those days, you could stay here in Seattle and get a sense of Seattle food and Seattle business with Ernst Hardware and Pay and Pack.
Oh my God, you do have a good memory. That goes back to
Ivar's Seafood, and
Sea Galley was another one. You remember Sea Galley?
Yeah, I worked at Sea Galley.
So see now,
As a busboy, yes.
just a real quick story. You know what happened to Sea Galley? I figured out what happened to Sea Galley when I was at the Total Lake store. I was the assistant manager, and the regional sales or the regional manager was there at 2:00 in the morning with a guy who was the owner of Sea Galley. I won't say his name because he'll probably sue me. But they were drinking scotch at 2:00 in the morning. Of course, everybody's supposed to leave at 2:00 in the morning, and they said, "Just close, just lock the door. We'll be fine." And so I figured at that point, well, if the powers that be are sitting in bars on a Wednesday night at 2:00 in the morning, this company doesn't have long to live. And they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they went down kind of quick, didn't they?
Well, they got caught in what I call the downward spiral, which one of these days I have to do a class on how to run a restaurant, because the downward spiral it's really easy. Because see, originally it's really easy to do. It's called you're being run by accountants suddenly, because what happens is in Sea Galley's place, they were a seafood place, and they were famous for their salad bar and stuff. And then the accountants got there and they said, well, you know what? We're using cod, and the price of cod's going up, so we're going to have to go to pollock. And pollock is cheaper than cod, but it's not bad. It's almost as good. And then they had to go to what they called Alaskan whitefish, which was a myriad of whatever it happened to be white and they caught. And that wasn't nearly as good or as flavorful. So
that doesn't sound good.
But they bought that, and then of course they said, well, labor is kind of expensive. We need to have fewer people and so that we can make money. And so they cut salaries, and they made people work longer hours and bigger sections so that the service wasn't as good. The food took longer. It wasn't as consistent. And voila, over the course of time, people go, have you ever been to a restaurant like that where you go, there's another one that's at South Center that I can't use their name either, but I used to sell them chicken and stuff, and they had a wonderful, wonderful idea. They gave you more food than you could possibly eat. It was very nice. They had great. They actually as a garnish, you got a little apple, and it was. I mean, then
like a cran apple.
No, just a regular apple, but they were smaller, and they used that as a garnish. And the food was really good, and it was more than you could possibly eat. They used to have a dessert that was 8-layer high chocolate cake, and
I like this place.
Yeah, well, it no longer exists as it was because it got taken over by a corporation. See, the owner was. They had per square footage when that owner owned it. They had more sales per square feet than any restaurant in the country, and now they don't. They still do okay, but it's not the same. I don't know how we got on that tangent. But.
Well, do they still have 8-layer chocolate cake?
They still have that. So we'll have to go get the oh, by the way, they are right now at South Center. They're right next to a place called Twin Peaks. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they call it Twin Peaks, but I haven't been in there yet. What do you think? Why do you think they call it Twin Peaks?
There's two is it waitresses?
Winner.
I got it.
On your first,
I knew my dirty mind would pay off someday.
No, at least that's what I've been told. I haven't been there yet, but I'm told it's like an upscale Hooters.
Upscale Hooters.
I don't know how
instead of fried food they bake it.
Exactly.
How nice.
They do. I don't know. I haven't been there yet because see, now that I'm older, I do the same thing with going to movies by myself, eating alone, or
You
something like
have
that.
no friends.
Yeah, it's like, oh, poor
Oh,
guy.
poor guy.
Poor man has no friends. It's like walking into a movie theater with popcorn and a pop, and you're going to watch a movie that maybe nobody else in your family likes that movie, and so you're going to see it because you're the only one, and everybody looks at you like, oh, poor man.
No, most of my friends prefer it that way.
Well, but you eat you like to go do your own thing, but you have got a ton of friends. I know you do.
Yeah, you know, my friends, like me at the distance I am. That's how I like to describe it.
As long as you're a distance away, then they think that's great. No, that's you've got a ton of friends. You've got a great attitude and a great sense of humor, and I need to talk to you about your smoking addiction, but we'll talk about that another time.
I'm staying away from smoking. I'm slowly getting away.
But you got to do that because you just got to. So
You just got to.
So we were talking about the guys in the booth that were talking about QAnon or conspiracy theory stuff. That's where I think we left off before I went on my tangent.
And then we hop back over to Amazon, and they're passing the union, trying to get a union started in Alabama.
Yeah.
And that's happening. They're starting to get that happening. I think this week. I think there was a pretty fair chance that was going to happen. And if that happens, that could change the model of how Amazon does business. And to be honest, I'm on the fence on that. I'm all for unions because I want to see people well paid. I want to see people well taken care of. They should have medical expenses. They should be able to afford housing. I mean, it's interesting that people that live in Seattle, very few people can afford their own home. What do you need to make $72,000, $73,000 a year to purchase a home in Seattle? That's
not even close. Not even close. You know how much the average sale of a house in Seattle is $500,000.
Yeah,
that's the average.
See,
so
how many can afford that?
Well, even at your at our salary, which is if we work a little bit overtime, we can really do quite well. But at $500,000, that's $2,500 plus a month, right off the top.
Nice.
And if you live by yourself, it's impossible for you to. My son makes last year he made in the 80 something thousand, and the problem is that he's got anyway is that to live anywhere costs $1,500 a month.
I'm not surprised. There's a woman that was in my training class. Now she's I think she's knocking on the door of 30, one side or the other. And she's got one, maybe two kids. I'm not really sure. I've got to ask her on this. But she just bought a house in Spanaway, which is a good hour from Seattle.
Yep.
And I know, and she's a single parent.
Do you know how much you paid?
I don't. I wasn't comfortable to ask her that. But I know a few drivers that have places, an hour or so away from Seattle. Because, having a place in Seattle, even for us, like you said, we make a pretty decent living.
Mm-hmm.
For us to be able to afford a place in Seattle, you have to work for Amazon. That's the bottom point. That's my trepidation about things changing for Amazon, because they do provide, and they also have been responsible for the rise of the housing cost as well.
Uh-huh.
It's a double-edged sword, man. And they've gone into that other city where it was Amazon headquarters too, and their housing prices raised as well.
Yep.
So wherever they're going to go from now on, whatever effects they have on any city, it's going to have both good and bad effects, no matter what they do. And that is the nature of capitalism as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why the term socialism and the term capitalism and how we define what is Republican and what is Democratic is so vital in this upcoming 2022 election, because that will define how we move forward in my opinion, how we move forward in the next 50 years. Because what's at stake here is not just commerce as we lay out, but also the environment, because GM, all the major car factories, have committed 2035 as the first year that they drop the combustible engine and they fully commit to electric engines. That's when we start committing ourselves to alternative power. Now, if we lose this next election, 2022, then it is possible that we recommit ourselves to coal. Now, how are we going to possibly compete in the world when we're committed the biggest economy, second biggest economy now, to China? How are we going to compete with the rest of the world when the rest of the world now is better than 50%? Germany is better than 50% alternative energy. Finland, Sweden, I don't know the percentages, but they're on that cusp, and they may be better than 50% reliant on alternative energies. We're not there yet. We should be, because we're the country that has all this money. We claim we're the greatest country. I don't know how. That's that's mythological, how we claim that we're the greatest country. We've struggled with each other about what is great. When we say what is great, we're talking about one segment of the population that's enjoyed greatness. The rest of the population, like the Asians and the Black people and natives and whoever else that aren't white, have suffered significantly. And they're just getting up to speed in this past few decades. And hopefully 2022 will be the statement that truly brings them a step forward into a real equality that will take us into 2035, when the world can settle down and we do have alternative energies on the map.
I'm going to ask you a question as a bus driver.
Yeah.
And the bus driver question I have for you is, after you get done throwing your drink.
I just dropped my pipe. I think my doctor cast a spell.
Oh, go get your pipe back.
I got it.
Oh,
I got it. It fell in my lap. It was unlit.
Paulette says that we froze on her.
We did?
Yeah. So,
sorry.
Well, let's assume. Okay, I was just kidding. I was just joking. Okay, you're a bus driver. I would like you to tell me, when was the last time you had a person of color, a lady of color, and 3 or 4 people get on your bus at the same time? 3 or 4 kids, or 5 or 6 kids, or two women of color, and 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 kids get on the bus with her at the same time. How long has that ever happened to you?
With her?
Yeah, they're her kids. And she's got 3, 4, or 5. Now, you don't live in the South End. I can tell you from my experience that in the South End, that happens all the time. That you've got people of color that they have to take the bus because they have too many kids. They can't, they don't make enough money or whatever. But they've got 2, 3, or 4 kids. Has that ever happened to you?
Actually, yes, because I drive Route 60. It takes me through the International District,
right,
and through South Seattle. So I do. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a white lady and 3 or 4 or 5 white kids get on your bus at the same time?
No.
The white people are not producing the way that they need to produce if they're going to keep up.
It's interesting you would say this because I remember having this conversation in junior high with Mrs. Lee, who was Chinese, if I remember correctly. However, she spelled her name Lee. So I'm really not clear if she was Chinese. Maybe she was, I don't know. She was Asian. And it was junior high. I believe it was 7th grade. And it was social studies. And there was a discussion that we were talking about minorities and population growth. And it was, I forget the exact date. And I remember the date now is wrong because it's past. But it was like 2016, something like that. White people would be in the minority. And Latinos would be the majority of people in the United States. And we talked about the effects of that. And, you know, being what I thought was a white little kid back then, I was a little bit sad because I thought, you know, America was beautiful. Fireworks, apple pie. And, you know, I was racing little quarter midgets at the time. Everybody was white. We had one black girl that raced quarter midgets. And, you know, it was pretty white vanilla stuff back then. I didn't really understand. I just knew the world was going to change. I was unprepared for this. And I didn't find it scary. I just thought it was just kind of sad. I didn't know much about Mexico. But I figure if I remember this conversation from 1970-ish, how is it possible that the rest of the world forgot this information? From, you know, I learned this in North Seattle from an obscure junior high school.
Well, they have, and in fact, they haven't forgotten it. But that is leading to the fear that there's a segment of the population in our country that are predominantly white people that are scared that they're going to lose their majority and their favored status of this being a white country, quote unquote.
Well, here's an alternative view on it. Maybe white people aren't as sexy as we think. Maybe we're so bad at sex, we just don't want to have it with each other. And the other people look at us and say, yeah.
But you know what? But you know what Ms. Lee did not bring up, which is an issue, which is going to be a much bigger deal. I'm ready. I've got a prediction. Predicted. The issue that's going to become a much bigger deal than anybody thought was what I call a blended family.
Ooh.
What a blended family is a white parent, a black parent, and racially kids with that have both of their parents' blood in them, and so they are mixed race kids. And that generationally, what that's going to mean, because more and more people, doesn't matter if you're white or black or whatever, it's who you love. And as more of those people get together and they produce more kids, we're going to have more multiracial families. And those people are going to end up the whites only dating only white people. That's going to go away and stuff like that. So what do you do with, I'll give it a great example.
We step up our game as sexy people.
Apparently. No, I have a really good friend. She is a wonderful white lady. She's married to a wonderful black man. She has 2 children. One is from a prior marriage, and he was a good black man, from what I understand. And then their son now, who doesn't look like either of them. So now is he? I want you to think about this because I'll wait for your answer. His mom is white. His dad's black. What is he?
Lucky, Mohamo. What do they call that?
Milano.
Milano. That's it. Milano. Is that the right term? It's Louisiana term.
That's an old. People don't use that term anymore. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't say something.
No, you were fine. But unless Paulette's upset about it. But
I apologize.
But that's the way our culture. We are going to end up being a mixed race culture. It's going to be white, it's going to be black, it's going to be Asian, it's going to be Hispanic, and they're all going to get together. I mean, I like Hispanic girls. Those are, Hispanic girls are very pretty.
They're lovely. Yeah, absolutely.
So as we go, that whole thing is going to change, and there's a segment of our country, predominantly in the middle Rust Belt and in the South, like what's happening in Georgia with the voting rights thing that we were going to talk about, and is that the they are so scared that they're no longer going to be able, that white people are not going to be able to control the government by who they put in because there's not enough of them. That's what they're scared about. That's why they're doing what they're doing.
I think it's apparent to, most of us. I mean, you and I see it. I think most of us are going to pick up on that rather quickly. The two gentlemen that were at the cafe the other day, I think they're going to have a hard time picking up on that. That may not ever occur to them, but quite a few people will see that, and hopefully they'll vote accordingly. Well, it's interesting because, and I hope it's done right. I'm going to go out on a ledge here. Because I love cultures. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love cultures because I love art.
Yeah.
And art is vital. Art is vital to our existence. And like I was talking about, Reagan, bringing on, large corporations like Home Depot. And now you go into any city and you fly into the airport, and let's say you're blindfolded and you're dropped off in the city. You may not know what city you're in. It may take you a little while to figure it out because you're going to see a lot of the same restaurants, a lot of the same stores that you see in just about every city across America. It might take you a few minutes to figure it out. And that's because of, the political movement that happened at that time. And indeed, at some point we're going to become, we're going to become so interracially mixed that I don't want to say that we're one race, because we're one race now. We're not going to be separated into white, blacks, and we're going to be, I hope that doesn't happen. And I want to say that in the right way.
You hope what doesn't happen?
Well, I hope that there's always room for different cultures. Like there was a Star Trek episode that absolutely, I'm such a geek. there was a Star Trek episode where there was this planet. It was Beverly Crusher, who had people that don't know who Beverly Crusher was. She was a doctor on the Enterprise, and she was Scottish descent. And there was this planet that was dedicated to the Scottish culture. And there were aliens that fell in love with the Scottish culture. And the president of that planet was from some far off land. And he didn't look very human at all, but he wore a kilt. And he spoke in that, that I can't do a Scottish accent. But yeah, he looked like you, and he spoke, and he had, and he spoke in a Scottish accent. I thought that was wonderful. And I hope that's what we do, that we keep the cultures alive. If we do become, I don't even know how to say it. If we do, intermix enough where there's only one color of us, I hope that we keep our cultures alive. And we go back to local cultures, and not these. I know Beverly and Wesley. There we go. See, you're a geek too, Paulette.
Well, what I'm hopeful of is that we as a people begin to celebrate all cultures, all different ways of looking at things and stuff. I think that would be, it's great having a Cinco de Mayo and the St. Patty's Day. St. Patty's Day is a wonderful day to have,
Absolutely.
And all of those, but we have to respect each culture, and we should applaud each one, including the quote unquote white culture. When you look at it, well, you look like, let me see. Yep, you look like a white guy.
Yeah, I've been told that.
As a white guy, what nationality are you? I know you're an American citizen, but where are you from?
The DNA would say that I'm English, Danish, a little bit of German, and the rest is, multiples of white stuff in there. So pretty much, a lot of European stuff, a lot of European stuff. I am truly the mix, truly a mix, and then the native.
They call you and I mutts. We're just mutts.
Yes, that's it.
I'm half German. I'm a quarter French. I'm Indian, Irish, English, Irish, Scottish, Canadian, and a little bit of Indian and stuff. And so, but you see, we are byproducts of the fact that we grew up in Europe in a predominantly white area of the world. We had no choice but to come out white. But those days are now disintegrating because of the globalization of the entire world. That's how the pandemic hit so fast. That's how, because we are now we are a conglomeration, and that you can go anywhere and do anything and be any color you want to do anything you want, which is really good. But some of us are having trouble with that.
They are having trouble for that. They completely bought in the mythology of what America, of the greatness of America, was based on. The mythology of America is great because of what it conquered.
And they want June Cleaver back.
They want you. Well, we all want June Cleaver back. We love June Cleaver.
She made cookies. She made cookies, and she made home. Cookies.
And she was great at Airplane. She was great at Airplane too. Talk about a perfectly cast moment, man. Nobody could have played that part better than June Cleaver.
No, she was.
You speak jive, I speak jive.
See, and you've got a weird sense of humor too. I know but that's what they want to go back to. They want Ward and June, and they want the kids that behave themselves and stuff, but those days are gone. Those days are gone.
As they should be. As wonderful of a show as Leave It to Beaver was, I don't recall them having a little black kid on there.
They didn't. There wasn't one.
No, and our gang had a little black kid on there that was adorable and smart and charming. What happened?
Except
what happened?
That that even with little gang and those, they stereotyped that kid.
Yeah,
this is what we picture of a black kid in America with big eyes, and big lips. Whoa!
And his little afro would rise, and shock.
He
was adorable. Yeah.
Well, did you ever see the movie? Oh, here we go on movies and stuff. Did you ever see Gone with the Wind?
Yes, I did.
The gal that was the and she won an Academy Award for this. I don't know her name, but she was the maid, the African American, and that was just pure stereotype of and stuff. And
wasn't she classically trained or something?
Yes, I believe so. And she won an Academy Award. I don't know her name, but in those days, that if you wanted to act, if you wanted to work, that's who you had to be.
Yeah, I heard about that. And there were what's interesting, there were a bunch of films produced by African Americans back then. All Black American cast members produced by Black Americans that you don't see much of. That would be absolutely fascinating. I saw some story about it. I'm going to try to look this up and send you the information on this, because boy, what a story that would be, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, one of the first movies. I'm gonna say a line from it and see if you can figure it out.
Okay.
Figure out what it is. Okay. And but it was I was in high school, So it was in between 71 and 75 that they were showing this movie in high school, and they were showing it as a piece of what it was like in the South and the prejudices of the South and that sort of. So here's the line. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Oh, somebody came to dinner.
Right actor, wrong movie.
Oh, God.
Because it was Sidney Poitier that was in both of them, but it was In the Heat of the Night.
In the Heat of the Night.
With
Man,
Rod
and there was
Steiger.
a TV show on that.
Yeah. Oh, there was. They built a TV show around it later on, but originally it was Rod Steiger, who was a cop, fat cop who chewed gum all the time, and he called him boy, and that's what he said. What do they call you up there, boy? And they said they call me Mr. Tibbs because he was a detective with the police force up there. Yeah. And so, you're a detective. You can't be a detective. You're a black man. Anyway. So, but we've come a long way since then, kind of, sort of.
When cultures clash.
But I'm convinced there's still somebody in the South who is a caricature of that sheriff.
I have no doubt, and he very may well be sitting in Congress or as a senator. He got himself elected.
Yeah, that's right, because they kept the black people from voting, and so it was only the white people could vote. Hey, guess what? They're doing that again.
Again, desperately.
And because, as we've discussed, if they tried to operate legally and have everybody vote, they would lose.
The Republicans right now are way overrepresented. If we did an honest democratic vote, one vote per person, got rid of gerrymandering and got rid of the what do you call it? The college, the voter college.
The electoral college.
If we got rid of that, Republicans wouldn't even be on the map. They've gerrymandered so much. They're so far overrepresented. They're desperate to do anything possible. What's interesting and what really angers me is conservative thought doesn't have to be one thing.
No.
You can take solar power and approach it in a conservative a conservative manner. It doesn't have to be coal.
Nope.
Come on. So
it's almost like, since the Democrats have staked out the position that they are the party of renewable energy and moving forward, it's almost like the Republicans are saying, well, we can't they took that position, so I guess what we're going to have to do is to say, no, coal's better. We're going to stay where we are. We're not going to progress or do any of that. It's because of the positions they take, I guess. I can't figure it out myself.
They just want to be oppository. That's all they want to do. Anything Democrats say, they want to say the opposite. And same basically is true for the Democrats. Anything the Republicans want to say, Democrats most likely, and not really as bad, but are going to try the opposite approach.
It's true. It's true. I wish we didn't have to do that, or we didn't do that, and we would figure it out. But you said it early in our conversation that if things don't change and the Republican Party doesn't change, it could get wiped out.
It could. Good riddance. Good riddance, in my opinion. In their current form, in my opinion, they deserve to go away. If they can adapt, as an example of Darwinism, they need to just go away. You have to evolve or you disappear from the earth. That's an established method of survival.
It amazes me that they can go to like the Republican National Convention and you can pan through the audience, and you see white people with an occasional person of color, but not very many. And they don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, they don't.
But that cannot stand, because there are too many. And of course, right now, have you been watching the news in the last day or two?
A little bit. I'm trying to keep my blood pressure down lately, but I do a little bit.
The trial of George Floyd is going on.
Oh, yeah, I've listened to some of that. Whew.
One of the broadcasters put up a clock, and he said, okay, he was underneath that man's knee for 9 minutes and 24 seconds. So we're going to start this clock, and I'll let you know when it ends. And it was like, it seemed like forever that he was underneath that man's knee for 9 minutes, and that ended up killing him. And you know, it's almost unspeakable.
I agree. It's inexcusable. There is no defense of that. I don't know how they can try to defend it. It's disgusting. That guy has no business. And he's got a record of this. What's his name, that cop again? He's got no business being a policeman.
I don't know.
You know, and people are yelling at him, let us help him. Let him breathe. He can't breathe. And he's holding him off with pepper spray. What a bastard. That,
sir, is a wordsmith. That is a perfect word to use in that particular case, because that's what he is. He's a bastard. Yeah,
he's a bastard.
Well, you know, Eric, we could talk all day long, but we got to save something for next week.
Time flies, man. It just astounds me. I really enjoyed talking to this. And Paulette, thank you for joining us.
One of these things. The next time, Paulette, you're going to have to come on the air with us, and that would be fun for you, wouldn't it? I can give you the link, and you can come on and you can talk to us. What do you think? Huh? I think she's going to go quiet. Oh, wait a minute. There she goes. Yeah. As always, you all have entertained and enlightened me. Thank God we did something for somebody today.
Thank goodness. Yeah, it's been fun.
Paulette, thank you so much for being here. And Mr. Transient, I can't even say it. Say it for me, would you please?
Transients.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, sir. I will look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. This is becoming the funnest day of the week for me.
It is for me. That's for sure. I picked up a kite, and I'm going to go fly my kite today because it's nice. So I got to go down to the beach, and I'm going to fly my kite.
Oh, you're going to go down to which beach?
I don't know. Might go down to Lincoln Park. I might go down to Saltwater Park, something like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you know.
So you can sing the song that was on Mary Poppins.
That's where I got the idea, because I watched Mary Poppins last week.
Let's go fly
a kite. That's it. So I thought, man, I got to get me a kite. And that's amazing, man. That's exactly where I got the idea.
Well, well, there you are. See, and because of how you said it, I'm going to go fly a kite.
That's right.
Oh, I love that song. It was near the end of the movie, if I recall. Anyway, I could talk for hours. So,
okay.
And Paulette's left us, so she's had enough of our shenanigans. So, in any event, and by the way, if you're listening to this later on and you enjoy our bantering back and forth, we're here every Wednesday at noon. And please comment, like us, do some, make us do something nice. Okay. Oh, subscribe. That's it. I can't watch. There are some words that I just cannot seem to remember, and subscribe is one of those.
Subscribe,
yeah. Subscribe. So, I mean, we're getting more and more people that are subscribing. So, do that so that so that more people can listen. So it's great fun.
Excellent.
Yeah. That guy over there is named Eric Hall.
Right.
The guy behind you.
Oh.
And my name's Kevin, and we'll be back later on for some more fun stuff. So, thank you very much, young man.
Thank you, Kevin.
I have enjoyed this one like no other.
Same here.
Perfect. See ya.
Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we got. See you next time on My Independence Report.